What if you were the living embodiment of all pervasive peace? What if all sentient beings all around you increase their vibration towards harmony by merely being in your contact? What if, through conscious reasoning, focused will, and intentional living, you reform yourself, thereby becoming a catalyst in sparking transformation in others? I'm Shilpa Lewis, meditation, mindset, and mindfulness coach for midlife mompreneurs, and you are listening to Omnipresent Awareness, the podcast that will inspire you to use your story to serve humanity in not just healing, but thriving as souls, each fulfilling their highest purpose. Namaste. Thanks for tuning in to Omnipresent Awareness. This is your host, Shilpa Lewis, and welcome back. Okay, so I'm running a little challenge as I'm trying to get more people to discover this podcast and the conversations that inspire those who value personal growth. And the best way to do that is to leave reviews. You can leave a review on Spotify, Google Podcast, or Apple Podcast. So here's a little request from me to you. If you feel like you have received any value at all from these episodes, then please write a little review and take a screenshot of your review. Once you've done that, email that screenshot to me at omnimindfulness@gmail.com. Once I get your screenshot, you will receive one of my infographics. Spark your meditation practice through Sankalpa. Sankalpa is the Sanskrit word for intention setting. Along with this, you'll receive a link to my guided meditation where you can daily practice intention setting with some inspirational music and breath work. This infographic, along with the guided meditation, is guaranteed to have you start your practice for meditation with a spark. It is my gift for you for being a listener, being a supporter, and of course for you to be able to manifest the best meditation practice. So thank you for showing up, listening, and being inspired, and most importantly, taking action. I appreciate you. So again, please don't forget to take a screenshot of your review and send it to omnimindfulness@gmail.com, and I will send you that infographic and the link to the guided meditation. And now, a conversation recorded with my partner in awareness, Tanya, from our joint podcast, Mindful Mompreneur Moments. And oh yeah, if you could, please listen to the very end of the podcast for powerful insights from our guest. Thank you. Hey, sweet souls, thanks for tuning in. In today's conversation, as part of the season of intentional living, we dive into second acts with Jessica Bickford. Jessica is the co-founder of Phoenix Community Projects, a community organization that provides both in-person and virtual programming within Montreal, Canada, and its surrounding areas. Phoenix provides intergenerational programs, as well as programs for children, families, and seniors. It is the goal of Phoenix to break isolation, support emotional well-being, and nurture personal and spiritual development. Jessica considers herself a spiritual coach and is ordained through the Anglican Church of Canada. She prides herself on pushing the envelope within traditional religion to explore what it truly means to be a spiritual being. She feels the world is our classroom with messages and opportunities to learn and grow from every facet of life. She is a genuine, authentic soul, and we absolutely loved our conversation with her. So without further ado, here's Jessica.
Jessica, again, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
So our first question for you is, what does intentional living mean to you?
There's many different sort of definitions floating around out there. And I actually did a sort of Google search too to see what resonated. But for me, I think it's living our authentic selves. And with that, it comes with awareness, and not just our likes and our dislikes, but really what is at that core of us, and living a life with that. A great image I love seeing when I watch the movie with my daughters from the Guardians, and it's when Santa is talking to Jack Frost, and he has one of those Ukrainian dolls, and he's pulling each layer down, and he gets to that core, because I think really that's what it all boils down to. So it's knowing our strengths and knowing what challenges us. I don't like using the word weaknesses because I don't think we have them. It's all opportunities for learning, right? And then finally, those combined with what are those gifts, talents, what is that message that the world, that the universe, like we're all here for a reason. So what is that message? What is that piece of us that we were brought here to bring to the world?
I love that analogy. I'm a sucker for cartoons and anything that's, animation. And so, yeah, I saw that movie with Jack Frost, and Santa in it was so not the conventional Santa, and the way he showed those dolls that just went from one to the other, the traditional Russian dolls, right?
Yeah.
Russian, right?
Sort of
Yeah.
all Eastern Europe, different cultures have them, but for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just, and you saw the light switch turn on in Jack Frost's mind, like, oh, okay, yeah.
Well, exactly, because we have all these messages of what we're supposed to be, who we're supposed to do, everybody else's expectations, maybe of our friends and family and whatnot. And I think sort of those early parts of our lives is trying to figure out what that core is, who is at us, and I think that message of, we're here to live, to be happy. I think that's misleading. I don't think we're here to be happy. I think we're here to have joy in our lives. And that's having a gratitude and an appreciation and seeing that beauty or that positivity in what is around us. If we're living to just be happy, it's kind of selfish, right? Like, I'm going to get married because it's going to make me happy. I'm going to have this job because it's going to make me happy. I'm going to do this because it makes me happy. I think intentional living, we go deeper than that, and to find that way to just have that joy, because life's hard. Life's going to throw things at us. And if we don't have that joy, that's when it's hard to kind of get up again and keep going.
That's right.
That's beautiful. And I love the fact that you mentioned the word awareness, because much of this starts with awareness. It's been something that Tanya and I talk about often.
Yeah.
So speaking of awareness, could you share when you became aware that you were ready for your second act, and what is it that you are doing now that's your life's work? Maybe you could share your story.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's sort of beginning or living a second act because I guess it would be now in the last 3 years. But I kind of have seen my life as puzzle pieces. So each piece has been a part of the journey that has taught me, that has challenged me to bring me to the next piece. And then sometimes I don't know how all these pieces fit together. So what I'm doing now, I started a nonprofit with some really great friends called Phoenix Community Projects. And our primary purpose is to provide intergenerational programs. So opportunity for families of any configuration to just come and spend time together. Because it's so expensive to just go to a movie or the amusement park or whatnot, you have to have some financial means to do that. So yeah, we just want to provide those opportunities where family members can learn about each other, share in memories, and then, even ideas that they can do on their own. And along with the family, we do sort of individual demographic programming as well. So we have stuff for kids, we have stuff for seniors and adults. So we started a community lunch, and that's sort of attended by about 7 to 10, and it's virtual. So we came as a response to COVID. What had happened was, with everybody being in isolation, I'd been working in the community sector for over 20 years. And so I just kept hearing these needs. So I was just like, hey, let's just try this. Let's just try. And so it started off with a Sunday gathering. I have a background in the Anglican Church. So people were just like, can we worship? Can we do this? Can we do that? I was like, sure, let's figure it out. Might not be perfect, might not be what we're used to, but let's do that. And then it was through those participations, people were like, hey, you know what? Can we do a community lunch? Like, we'll come up with themes and we'll do trivia and we'll do this and that. And I was like, great, you want to do that? Go ahead, tell me what you need. And so we started a community lunch. We started a weekly kids club. And then as all this has happened, and COVID coming back, we're now starting in-person activities and looking kind of for homes for that. But it's been kind of a blessing too, because not having one physical structure, we don't have the financial overhead of that, but we can really place ourselves where those needs are, and be more specific to that. And we began to more focus our attentions as well. So we got a micro grant and we started a program called Play Like a Girl. And this is for preteen girls in grades 5 and 6. And we pair sport with a personal development exercise. Because what we're finding is it's between the ages of 10 and 14. That's when girls find themselves in trouble if they don't have this emotional intelligence, this foundation and self-esteem and whatnot, because that's when they start trying to figure all that out. So having been a girl for not say most of my life, all my life, I mean, I was a tomboy, and I I think it's sometimes, like, hey, I'm not a girl at all. That's a whole other conversation. No, it's important. And I see these girls struggling. I've been involved in sports all my life. I just retired pre-COVID after a 22-year career in rugby. And so sports have a lot to teach us in these life lessons, and especially rugby. You got to get up. If you don't get up, there's nothing else going to happen. You always got to get up and help your teammate and get to that next spot. People need you and whatnot. So yes, that's pretty much where we are, as well as an art hive. We've started that as well. So again, these opportunities for people to learn about themselves, identify with themselves. We have our 3 C's of values, our 3 C values, and that's caring, community, and contribution. So, I have a student from one of the local CEGEPs right now, and I'm like, why did you want to get into social work? She's like, because I want to help. I'm like, get ready, get ready, because the world is hard. And I had to sort of prod her into more of that. And I'm like, do you want to help because that feeds you or because you care? And she had to think about that. So with Phoenix, we really want to provide a place where our volunteers, we don't have staff, we're all volunteer based, where the people truly care about those who are coming and what we're doing and what we're offering. The second one is community. So again, with isolation, either with the pandemic or outside of that, people are feeling alone. Here in Quebec, younger families have had to move out for jobs, and seniors are here, or seniors have moved outwards and families are still here. So there's a real disconnect into the, I guess, the tribal family, and not just the core. So through this community, we would like to help foster that sense, right? So when we do these intergenerational activities, sure, my grandkids might not be here, but there's a joy I see when I see other grandchildren. And then we can network, right? New moms ask senior women, hey, what can we do? What's this going on? Or this one's driving me nuts, or I'm going to put my kid on a forever timeout, please, So we get that interaction as well. So, and then our final C is contribution. As I said, everybody has a gift. Everybody has something that they can offer. And when we see our volunteers doing that and new people participation doing that, again, there's that joy, like that pride, like, hey, look what I did and look what I offered. It's valuable. People see it. So,
yeah. And Jessica, what it reminds me of, the first term that sparked my mind was it takes a tribe. And one of the challenges I experienced it being isolated from core big family is you need that support. They remember how to hold a child. They know how to soothe the child or communicate details, like Tanya and I've often talked about the knowledge of our ancestors and passing along. So what you're doing is not only timely, but it's a lost art that we need to reintegrate into our society.
It's extremely important work. Yeah. Sorry, I think you were going to say something, Jessica.
No, it's all good. And again, like, we don't even know our neighbors anymore. My husband and I walked up and down the street, and there was a lot of people moving last summer. And I was like, okay, we still know them. We still know them. Do you know them? No.
Yeah.
And then, or someone like, who is that? And, and again, it's always our reaction in today's world to be like mistrusting,
Yes.
And I remember this character on our street. I don't know, never gave me quite that sense of secure kind of feeling, but they were the first one to help me get my car out. They were the first one to help me down. They're always the first one to help if they see, So I think we need to kind of,
put down our guards. Yeah.
Just
a little bit.
Chance. And because you never know when you're going to need help. You never know when you need to reach out, or if somebody else does.
Yeah.
I mean, I said, hi, how are you to a neighbor one day. And she's like, I don't know you. And I go, well, you're looking at me. And so I thought I'd say hi. And then all of a sudden she's telling me all these problems. I'm like, I just wanted to say hi, but again, it just shows the need that people need to talk. People need connection.
I think it's a cultural thing in the Western society, because I briefly lived in India, and every neighbor knew you. They'd be in your house. They would just walk right in. And
yeah.
Well, and I think, go ahead.
No, yeah, it's so different. Culturally, I think there's a huge difference, but I think that as a human species, we need this more. So I think that the work that you do is so valuable. And I'm just thinking of my mom, if she had a community to go to where she would see other grandparents and, be able to interact with them while they also interact with their grandchildren, while they interact with their children who are right there as well, and 3 different generations. And it would be just so beautiful. So we need more of that.
Well, exactly. And I think that's what the traditional faith groups used to do in some way is like, I remember growing up in church, and, those rebellious late teen 20 in early 20 years, and I'll always remember Mrs. Ruby Bennell. And she came up to me one day and she's just like, you are smarter than this. You are better than this. What are you doing? And what are you doing to your mother? I'm like, excuse me, And then she's just like, you are strong. You need to just stop and get your head. And I was like,
you saw something in you. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, at that, it made me think. But if my mother had said that to me, I'd be like, oh, leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just figuring it out. I'm just doing me.
Yeah.
And so, and then, so I think it's just all these kind of connections, as I say, like I started off in community work, and I was working at Boys and Girls Clubs or day camps and stuff like that. And I wanted to do my own programs, but, working with kids, I realized I got to work with parents, and I got to figure that one out. And I wasn't a parent, So, but then as I started working with parents, I'm like, we're all like facing these issues together, so then it's about community. So different positions taught me different things on how to program. I had great mentors. I got to give it up to Reverend Joyce Sanchez. She always thought, unicorns, sprinkles, glitter, and all of that, right? Where I would automatically go into, how did this project fail? How can I make it better? And she taught me how to see, what, maybe it didn't check off your checklist, but look at the positives you brought to the people. They tried something new. They did this, they did that. So seeing things differently, so it's not just doing, but seeing it. And it was only when I went to do my grad studies in community economic development, and I put it off for 6 years. I'm like, no, because I was never the academic type. I'm like, that's not me. I'm not going back to school. I just do. And whatever self-deprecating remarks as well. And in the end, I was like, okay, I'm in between sort of projects. Let's do this. And what that gave me was the affirmation. Yes, this is my gift. This is my talent of bringing care and building community among people. And what that course did was just give me more tools of what I found my core finally to be. So I guess my second act, and sorry, that was sort of really roundabout.
Yeah, no.
Is just the actualization of who I am, and living that. And so,
I like that.
And this organization is hard. We're only in year 2 and trying to find funding and employment and balancing and family, I often get from my daughter, hey, you're doing some stuff for all these other kids, but what about me? So trying to find that home life balance. It's not easy, but I found my joy. And so that's where I learned it's different from being happy.
Yeah, that's amazing. It leads us well into the next question about mindfulness. Could you
Mhm.
share any mindfulness modalities that you use?
So one, we started with the kids. So we used to have a youth council, which was a leadership program at a previous position that I had. And what we do each week or each month was we start off is where we're coming from, where are we at, and what do we need? And this kind of creeped into my practices,
I
So
like that. I'm going to write it down. Where are we
yeah,
coming from? Where are we at? And what do we need?
yeah. So and there's different layers with this stuff, right? So it could be simply sort of a scheduling or programming stuff, like where am I coming from? Okay, so this is busy, that's busy, that's not working, this person's not calling me back, that person's not calling me back. I mean, you can do it with that, or it can be even deeper on an emotional level, right? Because a lot of those things that we engage in, they're mirroring our own needs, right? So when I was a child, like my mom used to say, I would sit on the porch. I'm an only child, so no brothers and sisters. And all the kids that passed by be like, hi, friend, hi, friend, hi, friend. I didn't know anybody's names. I just called them friend, you know. But then when my parents got divorced, I'm originally from Alberta, I was uprooted to Montreal. Well, all of a sudden, the world fell apart. So, and that's where I learned to see that in other kids, just that I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where I'm at anymore, So you can do the where you're coming from on that emotional end. But we have to be aware not to be reactive in that history, right? Because history is emotional. And if we're going to be reactive, then we can get into victimization or self-victimization, right? Oh, this happened to me, that happened to me, this happened to me. So this is why everything's like this, and I can't communicate, or I can't this. Like, we have to have that healing, when we're going to go into that direction. So yeah, so working all that, where am I coming from? And then so gets you to where you're at. So what's happening around you? Do that self-evaluation, you know. Like, I was really frustrated the other day because here we're having an Easter scavenger hunt activity in April. And I'm just like, why aren't the partners coming in on this? Like, I've given the info, I've said what we need, I've put it out, everybody keeps saying they want to help, but why am I not getting the communication back? Well, we're all really busy and we need to learn how people communicate. So yeah, where one person's great on email, I found another one was text, and it's a lot of extra work. But if we need these things done, we have to understand the other. So it's not just about us. And then if we can do those self-evals, sort of sense, I'm really tired. I am not balancing my family and life. I am not doing these things. When we take those moments as well, we see ourselves within the whole picture. So maybe I'm frustrated and I'm more triggered because I'm exhausted and I haven't slept and my kid is sick and my partner's not helping, and all those sort of traditional complaints we have. And I remember feeling like that's how I feel now. I'm tired all the time. So you know what? It's like good old Anna said from Frozen 2, just do one step, do one thing. I know
I love the analogies.
I'm full of cartoon analogy. That's how I identify. I'm still a kid inside, right? But there's no right step. There's just the next step, and just do that step and then do another one. And where all of a sudden I was doing that. And that's why I ended up being up till 2:00 in the morning. But I got so much done and it felt so good. And I found that joy again, right? So that's where we're at. And then when we look at those things, then we see what we need. All right, so I need to finish this and this, and then I can sleep, and I need to rest, and I need my time with my family. And okay, so I'm sitting watching Netflix and chilling or whatever, but that's not feeding me. That's not addressing what I need. So maybe I need to get off that and read and meditate and whatnot. So again, finding those things we need. And even if we need others' support in that, we need to articulate that. Hey, husband, I need you to go take the kids so I can just go relax in the bath. I need this, I need that. And I know sometimes we feel like we're nagging, or we're not just with our partners, but with friends, like we don't want to impose ourselves. But people can't read our minds. We have to articulate our needs.
And that's part of the work, is like once you've identified what is your intention, and becoming more self-aware. I think that is part of the work, is learning how to have your voice, speak your voice, setting boundaries. And that also becomes the example for other younger women, your daughter, your children. This is how to function, but you're still giving, but you're also giving back to yourself. So I find that wonderful.
Yeah. So what I try to do with our members is I have the analogy of a lifeguard, right? So if you're jumping in with your buoy or whatever, the life preserver thing, the round thing, you're jumping in and you're giving that buoy to others all the time, you're treading water. And as a lifeguard, you can't tread water all the time. You're going to sink or you're going to drown. You need that buoy back, or you need to even get out of the water to recharge and to regain that strength, you know?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's how I like to see that in those moments too, because again, everybody needs right now.
Absolutely. I mean, this is so profound and so timely. Did this organization that you've created start before the whole pandemic, or was it around that time?
Yeah, so it's been around, well, officially, no. It's been around in various capacities. So I, as I say, I have that faith background, and I am ordained deacon within the Anglican Church. Very liberal, exploratory end, and a lot of my colleagues are like, "What are you on about now?" Because I love tradition and understanding it and knowing why we do it, but then it's for us to explore that, right? So I do believe in an other, call it God, call it universe, call it however you want to identify. But it's my job as a spiritual coach to then give you those tools to do that. And for you to figure out your journey. I can't walk your journey, and I can't tell you how to walk your journey. That's for you and your universe. So it started off as a project because I was really strong in youth, and those in my discernment groups were like, well, can you work with seniors? And I'm like, well, some of these seniors act more like kids than some of the kids, but sure, let's figure it out. So we started Phoenix in its first frame in a church in Verdun. And it was really these parallel programs between tradition and new or community outreach. And we intersected at different times. And then unfortunately, the finances ran out and that church merged with another one. I went back into the community sector, worked at the Boys and Girls Club as the 5 to 12 coordinator. So again, back at the grassroots. I was called to another parish. And at that point, I was kind of done. Again, I have this love-hate with the institution of church, but not spirituality. And I'm like, I'm done. Don't ever ask me to do kid stuff again, because it was just handled so poorly. But that's where Reverend Joyce and I connected. And she's like, can you just help? Can you just help with the pageant? I don't want you to do anything, just help. And I was like, okay, I showed up just to make sure everybody was safe and whatnot. And then that blossomed into our family life project, again, about reaching out to the community. How do we have these spaces and make them available, or what do people need, and really address those needs? And that's where I learned about like the table de concertations, like all that other community development, and like, hey, there's people that we can work with. Like, we don't have to do this on our own. So it became the family life project. And then again, unfortunately, that parish was closed. And so I thought I was being a bit of a jinx every time I went to somewhere and whatnot.
It was all preparation.
Yeah,
right. But that's just it. Each part was a piece of this puzzle. I learned more and was like, okay. And as I say, when you have that gift or that calling, the universe is going to like kick you in the butt and be like, no, this is what I called you for.
Yeah.
You know, this is why you're created.
And you mentioned the puzzles, and I find that such a beautiful analogy. I saw you and Tanya reacted to that, is that sometimes your life is already created and set in motion the direction that you truly need to be in if you're listening and paying attention. And those skills that you'll need to truly blossom are being given to you, the opportunities, as you were calling it. So it sounds like you were given these opportunities, and then as the second act manifested, you were prepared to help.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
crisis, right?
Like, yeah, something like second, third, fourth. Like, there's so many acts in a life. Acts. Yeah. So we call it second acts, but we understand.
It can cover many facets of your future. Now, how would you share to inspire or empower women considering transitioning into their second act? For some of them may not be aware, or if they are aware, there might be fear-based.
Mm-hmm. So again, for me, a lot of this came from crisis, right? And when we think of crisis, we think emergency and response. But if you actually look at the definition, it means turning points. So, and I think that's when we get pushed out of our comfort zones because our routine gets disrupted. So, and I think those are key flags to listen to. Like, okay, let's keep our head. Worrying doesn't change this. I still gotta contend with what's happening around me. But once we're in those moments and in those transitional times, like, again, those three things, where am I coming from? Like, what was working, what wasn't working? So where am I at? What do I need? And then what brings me joy, love, peace, and hope? And I found those are great boundaries, right? And something that I've taken on this year, because if it's not sharing love, I don't want to be a part of it. If it's not bringing peace and there's all this drama, I don't want a part of it, you know, and some people try to bring that into our lives too. So it's a great boundary. No, this is not bringing peace. And yeah, it's emotional, but not so much. And again, that rooted joy, because when we have all those things, we have hope. We want to try new things. We want to get out there. We want to see what else is possible. After that, I'd say get a team. You cannot do this on your own. You are going to have moments of self-doubt. You are going to devalue yourself and want to give up and self-sabotage. And having a team around you not only helps pick you up, but helps see those things that you don't. I'm a big picture kind of person. And my right hand is my friend Dion and Carolyn, because they are so detail oriented, you know, so they see those little hurdles that maybe I didn't. Or again, like Reverend Joyce, she saw it in a totally different perspective where I was just like, oh man, we are doing great work and let's keep going. And again, get out of your own way. You know, anytime you have that doubt, push it aside. You know, you're here for a reason. You are doing what you are called to be doing. And then I think finally, what got me switched, I had a rugby coach named Barry Sullivan, and he taught us to think big, right? So that meant believe, inspire, goals, get her done. So I'm very visual. So that's all these little acronyms and movies really respond to me. So believe is like, believe in yourself, believe in that new vision. Because you know what, you're going to have a lot of naysayers because they don't get what you're trying to do. You're trying to create something new. You're trying to create something new for yourself. Your friends and family might not get it, you know, and that doesn't mean they're not supportive, but you're changing the rules on them. So you've got to give them time to catch up, but you still need to believe in this new you or your new direction. Inspire, this doesn't mean to go and try to inspire everybody. You know, I'm doing it, you do it. It's no, look at people who've gone before you. If they can, but so can you. And then goals, what do I need to do? And then just do it. Just do it. That's the biggest thing that holds us back is we just don't do it. We're just like, okay, I got it. You know, how many times we said, if I left my job, I would do this. If I didn't have that, I would do this. Well, that I would do, that's your best life. You know, and those should be the goals. Because that brings us joy, not just to be happy. And yeah, we have to pay bills and stuff like that. But I think if we are doing it for the right reasons, the universe will provide for our needs.
Yeah, I love that. The I would, if I had this, I would. The I would is your best life. I love that. Yeah.
Well, it's all conditional verbs, right? If the conditions are right, you know, like within church communities, like I should, or you should, or should. Well, you know what? That's conditional. You know, the only way it will is if you take action.
Right.
You know, and I love this when you articulated, and maybe those weren't your exact words, but like the doubt and allowing people to catch up, but keep moving forward. Because I can say for myself, even transitioning from another part of my career into this one, there are many days I'm like, you know, Tanya and I often have these conversations like, okay, we're doing the right thing, right?
Yeah, and what you said about don't do it alone, I think that's why Shilpa and I kind of cling on each other, because it's the fact that we're not in it alone. We don't feel like we're in it alone because we're not. And it just works better. Like people have their strength and they're able to bring different things to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you mentioned work with people in the very beginning, I felt that way with even Tanya when she and I started collaborating. We started to move at a phenomenally different rate. Like the self-doubt was just eliminated because I'd say, "Hey, what about this? Should we go in that direction?" Yeah, let's try it.
I think that's one of the biggest gifts my mother gave me, where I would be like, hey, can we let this or what about that? And she's like, I don't know, why don't you just try? And I'm just like, okay. And again, I was from a single parent family, so I had to get my hustle on, right? Like if I wanted to do something, I had to figure out how to make that happen. She didn't have those means to give it to me, you know? So so again, it's just trying. You know,
Yeah.
we learn through mistakes, you know, fail, first attempt in learning, you
Yeah,
know.
and wow. Yeah, there's so many powerful insights. And the fact that you say you almost, you didn't use those exact words, but managing your energy based on the people who are around you, that barrier that you said, if you're not working out of love, then I'm not around that. If if you're going to be disruptive or in a negative, I'm not around that either. So you then build your tribe, right? And then you have the people that are going to be able to help you push forward.
Exactly. And I think again, like it's when the universe puts us in those scenarios, we learn our value, right? So when I was doing the grad studies and having those like-minded people around and hearing from those teachers who've been doing it for 40 years and how they were the, you know, hitting the ground running and the trailblazers, that's the word I was looking for. You know, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, this is all right. And then you're getting fed by others' energies because it's new ideas, it's new ways and things we don't know it all, right? But I think again, we stay in these places of people treating us certain ways or dynamics, and because either we don't know A, how to get out of it, or B, this is just what life gives us. I know
Yeah,
that
we
was
don't realize
huge,
there's more.
right, with my husband. So we always seem to, like, something always happens. The simplest thing, something always happens. And we're like, why can't it just work out? You know? And so when I sort of switched this, he kind of had that mentality. I'm like, we cannot keep being the victims and everything because we're not going to get anywhere. You know, we're not, like, yeah, stuff happens, you know, use whatever other euphemism you want to use. It's gonna happen, but it's how we respond, you know. And so it took him a while to catch up because when he'd say it, I'm just like, stop, you know, we you know, he's like, but I need you to hear me. I'm like, okay, so let's talk about this deeper. Tell me more. Don't stay up here. Tell me more. And so yeah, and that's why I think we get in our own way.
Yeah. Yeah. Such powerful insights. Thank you so much for all of that, Jessica. It's been such a pleasure. Shilpa, I'm not sure if you had anything else
Oh
to.
no, like everything, like each statement, each phrase you're using, like yeah, it resonates. I had a similar conversation with someone about this very topic, and the term "we get in our own way" kept coming up as an expression. Was it you, Tony? I forget who I said
It
it.
could have been because one of the ebooks that I created spoke about the different levels of awareness, and the victim level is the first one where everything is about what's going on that happened, and that is why, so the victim mentality, you got to get out of that really fast.
And
So
it's the hardest one.
it's the
It's the
hardest
hardest
one.
one.
And
And so
one of
that's
my analogies for that, often I say this to myself since I was a kid. When I'd see a situation, I'd say, I'm the common denominator. Things aren't working out. I have control over me, and that's everything else I can't control, but I can control this.
Yeah. That's pretty powerful and deep at a young age.
At a young age. I don't know what happened in my 30s though.
well, no, because we I think even as women, we give so much of ourselves, right? That we lose ourselves. You know, like when I had my daughter, I still went to rugby practice twice a week and a full day on Saturday. And it was like, well, why are you here? You know, all the other moms, like maybe once a week and every other game. And I go, well, see that guy and that guy and that guy, because we practice with the men's team. They're like, I'm like, well, they all have babies. Why aren't they home taking care of their babies?
Exactly.
You know? So we need to find those things that kind of still feed us, because if not, then you're just like, yeah, this is what life's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be married in this way, and this is supposed to be my dynamic, or I'm or if like I have a friend who's single and all that time, well, it's just the world and well, no, hold on. What's the common denominator in your relationships? Exactly. It's you. Not that you aren't great, but we hold on to these things.
Yeah, it's what we hold on to. It has to be shed off of us and make us realize that there's more out there. Yeah.
And more to us.
And more to us. Yeah.
Well, this was
Thank
very
you.
powerful. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for tuning in. Check out the links in the description and please subscribe, follow, and share. And continue to be omnipresent.